Hello again, everybody. Gary Ferman and Stephen Wagner here, and this is your CaneSport Recruiting Minute. And today we are discussing quarterbacks because Miami has just had arguably the top two available guys in the country at that position. They are transfer portal quarterbacks in Kansas State's Will Howard and Washington State's Cam Ward. And it's ended with all kinds of intrigue about where this is going next. Stephen, you were out there yesterday. You spoke to Cam Ward as he was leaving the 305, and it was a great conversation. But man, did it leave a lot of unanswered questions with him talking about a weekend visit to Florida State, which we anticipated. But make no mistake, Miami wants to change that. Miami wanted to change that during this 24-hour visit. They are trying to lock in Cam Ward as their quarterback for 2024. So far, that has not happened. And then on the side of all this is Will Howard, a very good quarterback in his own right, who is in the process of visiting several schools. He had a great visit to Miami as well. What is he thinking? He's not doing much talking about it, so we are not sure. But you put it all together, Stephen, and man, we don't like this could go anywhere.
Yeah, it really could. I think kind of the biggest surprise that I had talking to Cam Ward was that there wasn't more certainty and structure surrounding his timeline for when he's going to want to make this decision. I had a chance to ask him. I was like, so is there like a target date that you're taking a look at or anything? And he said, oh, might happen in a week or two or so. And so I asked, do you have a specific time frame in mind, or are you just kind of going with the flow? And he said, it's going to be a feel of the moment type thing. It's just going to come down to, which school ends up making the bigger impression on him. I think things went really, really well at Miami this weekend. And I definitely got the vibe that Miami is in a really good place for Cam Ward. It would not shock me at all if, when everything's said and done, that Cam Ward does, in fact, end up committing to Miami. But Florida State, on the other hand, they are expected to host him this weekend. And I would be surprised if Florida State doesn't give him, an equal or greater pitch than what Miami gave. I mean, Florida State, we all saw, what their situation looked like their last couple of weeks of the season. I mean, they're in the market for a quarterback too. But I was really, really pleasantly surprised kind of by, I think, the position that Miami has put themselves in for Cam Ward. I think it's impossible not to list Miami as a top contender.
Well, they pulled out all the stops, okay? They took him to dinner at Prime 112. The last time a transferred portal quarterback got taken to dinner at Prime 112, it was Jalen Hurts. That one went the other way. Obviously, this time they're hoping that this one goes their way, and there it is, Mario Cristobal outside of Prime 112 with Cam Ward and his parents. And Miami did clearly make it clear to Cam that they are looking for him to be the quarterback in this class. So the timeline, all right. So, yeah, visiting Florida State this weekend. Yeah, going to take my time, figure it out in a week or two. You want to know what that means, Stephen? That means it's Miami's onus to change the damn timeline, okay? You got to change the timeline. Miami wanted to lock this up this week because it's the final visit weekend of this recruiting cycle. And you got a little thing over here on the side by the name of Jeremiah Smith that they are trying to flip from Ohio State. And the thought of playing with the top quarterback available in the country right now, I'm sure they are hoping would be just what would put the Canes over the top there in that effort to flip Jeremiah. Whether that's realistic or not, we don't know, obviously, but that had to be the mission going into this week with these two great quarterbacks visiting. So now, with Cam Ward having left town, gone back home, the Florida State visit isn't until Friday. So you got, I guess, 24 to 48 hours to change that timeline and try to flip the script. And, if he lands on Florida State's campus this weekend, that the Noles will find some way to put their own best foot forward. Hint, hint, FAMU is right down the street. I'm just kidding, but that's a notorious Florida State recruiting tactic. They love to utilize the benefits of FAMU when they are recruiting their football players. And they don't have Prime 112 in Tallahassee. I'll tell you that. I was just there. The best place you can go get a steak in Tallahassee is Shula's, okay? And we've had Shula's here in South Florida, too, for decades, all right? So there's no Prime 112 in Tallahassee or within driving distance of Tallahassee. There's no Prime 112 even in Jacksonville if they wanted to go on a 2-hour drive. So they're going to have to find some other ways to appeal to Cam Ward, and they will certainly try. Miami's job is to try to keep that visit from happening. That will be at the top of the agenda here over the next 24 hours or so. So, Stephen, to sum all this up, it's the greatest thing in the world to get two great quarterbacks visiting in the span of a 24 to 48 hour period. It is a bonanza. It is utopia, but you got to get a commitment.
Yeah, I think, ultimately this is all for nothing if Miami doesn't seal the deal at the end of the day and get one of these commitments, because at the end of the day, no one cares who visited. Everyone cares who actually commits. Everyone cares who is actually going to be on this roster. Do I think Miami took a very significant step forward and toward getting one of those commitments? Yeah, I absolutely do, especially with Cam Ward. I got a really, really good feeling on with Cam Ward. But Miami's going to have to seal the deal, and you bet your behind that Miami is going to do absolutely everything they can over this next week or two to, as you said, speed up the timeline for Cam Ward. I mean, in Miami's case, the sooner you can get this commitment, the better, because this is going to have a trickle-down effect through the rest of the class. And heck, it would make it a heck of a lot easier to pitch something like this to Jeremiah Smith and some other elite members of the 2024 class that Miami is still trying to flip. But time is of the essence here. I wouldn't say that, time isn't on Miami's side, but certainly they are working against the clock.
And before we go, I don't want you to think I didn't notice that cap on your head, okay? But you're not going golfing, okay, in these next 7 days, okay? This is the 7-day rush to signing day. I call it the fog of war. You save hitting the 7 irons for after December 20th, all right? If not, you're fired. For Stephen Wagner, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time, everybody.